In what we believe to be the last week of the Supreme Court term, today the big issue was affirmative action, and the court voted 7-1 to send back this case to a lower court on the University of Texas's affirmative action policy. Bob Barnes was there and now tries to explain what some people called punting in this decision.
Yeah, it was clearly a compromise, this decision was, because you had both Justice Thomas and Justice Sotomayor joining it. So that shows you that the court tried to come up with a compromise. What they said was they didn't get rid of the University of Texas admission plan, which does consider race for some students that are admitted, but it sent it back to a lower court and said that that court shouldn't defer to the university just to say that it was acting in good faith, but to apply the toughest scrutiny that a court can to whether or not this policy is fair.
Does this have practical implications for admissions?
Well, I think it does, and I think what it does is it sort of puts schools on notice around the country that you have to have a very good reason for having these race-conscious affirmative action plans. And also, you have to have shown that you've tried other ways to create a diverse student body.
And what does that change? Because there was the big Michigan case, the law school case there, where they said you can use race as a factor, you can't use a point system. Is that not still where we stand?
That is still where we stand. They upheld that decision. Some thought that the court might take this time to reverse that decision, but they left it standing. But as I say, they made it a sort of a harder standard for universities to meet, and they told courts to be much more inquisitive and tough on universities and making them prove that they've tried everything else.
We're still waiting for a couple of big cases, obviously the same-sex marriage case as well as the Voting Rights Act case. A couple other interesting things happened today at the court, though, and one was what seems to be becoming more common, the idea of justices reading their dissents from the bench. It used to be rare, but it happened again today.
Yeah, it's still fairly rare for justices to do it, and it means that they feel very strongly about the issue at hand. Today there were two decisions, 5-4, conservatives on one side, the liberals on the other, that made it harder basically for employees to sue for either workplace harassment or retaliation. And Justice Ginsburg read her dissent from the bench. She said that they had misread Title VII of the Civil Rights Act, and she called on Congress to fix these two decisions that her colleagues had just made.
Basically said, hey, Congress, do what we're not doing.
That's right. She did that 6 years ago for Lilly Ledbetter, the woman whose name is now familiar, who found out she was making less money than her male coworkers at a tire plant, but waited too long to sue. Justice Ginsburg did the same thing from the bench. She told Congress to get involved, and it was one of the first pieces of legislation that President Obama signed, changing that decision.
And one more piece of news out of the court today, we learned one of the cases that they'll hear in the next term, which could be important to the administration and to the way presidential power is viewed.
Yes, that's about recess appointments, and that is something in the Constitution that allows the president to go ahead and appoint someone to the job when the Senate is in recess. And they have.
What does recess mean?
What does recess mean? Does it mean the recess, which means the time between sessions of the Senate, or does it mean a recess, which is any time that the Senate is on break? President Obama appointed a number of people during one of these short recesses, and a lower court overturned those appointments, said that he had exceeded his authority. Now the Supreme Court will decide that next term.
Okay, Bob, we're going to keep your chair right here, and we're going to ask that you return to it probably tomorrow, maybe the day after.
We'll be back tomorrow. We don't know how many days after that.
Okay, good to see you.
You too.